Very big one in front of that rock. No hits the rest of the pool, but a very big one hit it. It was the second smallmouth bass I have ever caught. Oh, cool! Look at the crayfish in his mouth. Ever caught on the spoon, and he's got a crayfish in his mouth. You can see it. After breaking Owen's rod and missing that big one at first, I finally feels like maybe the day is salvageable, because that's a big one. It's fought hard. Cool, and you can see the crayfish in him too. He's well over a pound. I don't think he's a 2-pounder, but one something, not worth weighing, but a big fight, very big. And you see I'm using Aiden's rod, which I have to admit it's way too long in the handle. It's uncomfortable. Now I have to spend money on a rod again. There's an unexpected fish. Sunlight, not a great spot, but I thought I'd give it a cast, and a fish. I saw him go for it. They're a little too small in the mouth to grab. A long guy. Ha! Okay. It looked good enough to give it a cast, since much of this area is nothing. But I was not expecting an actual fish, let alone something more than 1 inch long. See, up by that shade, that's where I'm thinking there actually might be a fish. But live and learn. The upper part of the Narrows, but check out the orangish area where I guess there's iron in that spring, is coming out of the layers of the rock there. I remember seeing this for the first time as a kid and just thinking it was magical, and I still think. I've never looked at the walls this far up. Normally I'm on the other side. They're just magical. Speaking of magical, if I can get up a little bit further, that spot right there should have a fish. This will probably be my only cast that I get one in this pool. I see some big ones swimming near him. First cast over into the shade. Boom. Beautiful fish, as always. I'm gonna get you. Be patient. Without hooking myself. Come on, buddy. All right, fine. It's gonna be that tough. Beautiful fish. All right. I probably have not ruined further up, but there goes probably my fish in this pool, which there are a bunch of them. You can see them swimming around. Well, I was wrong. Boy, that guy doesn't want to turn. He's strong, even though he's so little. I so admire smallmouth bass. Yeah, I got you. Another thing, besides the hook, the way this thing is set, and my thumb to set this lure is set, and the thumb to make sure the hook is set, I really think that my jerking the line to the water is what scares away a lot of fish, and it's another technique flaw. And it's very hard to not do that when the water is moving at different speeds in the middle than later, but seeing the fish react is has to do with the line, not the lure. There is a 3-pounder, I think. That's one of the biggest I've ever seen. He's gigantic. I came back to this hole hoping that I caught the big one. I don't think he's the big one, but he's a big guy. Give it enough time and they're good again. Oh, just barely got him. No, he's not the big guy at all, but the guy that I saw swimming there was far longer than anything I've seen, but still a nice fish again. Admit that's the first falling amount of stone I've seen. That would have been thrilling to see that. You can see it's gradually collapsing, but the trees are hanging on above still. I missed 2 fish here, probably tiny ones, but still one came out of the water a little. This is that area where it's nothing but a solid sheet of rock. It's kind of like the Narrows down there, except under the water. And right over there, about 50 yards, is where that guy had turned over rock to get gold flakes. Probably chubs, but I've never seen chubs go for this, which is why it might be some smaller smallies that live along these cracks. Alright. Surprise, surprise, that actually has a nice smallie in it, which means there are probably some bigger than nice ones. This is off the main creek. Interesting. Gorgeous little pool that still persists after the floods. I've never been to this one before, and there was a guy in there. Not a big one, but I haven't caught him. I think they hide under this bank and under those trees, or the roots, I mean. So it's hard to fish right from this side. Now, places like this, I love this S-turn. There's a big pool by that house about 200 yards to my 5 o'clock. But these are the types of places, I must imagine, this must be what people drown in Slippery Rock Creek, which is why I would never go in areas like this when I can't see the bottom. It must be 5 feet, right? There's the big log, one underneath it, and I think there's one even beneath that. I guess they must see better. There must be multiple trout sitting down there. I just don't know how to catch them. If I put a worm in, I'm almost guaranteed to catch a chub, but I doubt I'll pull out a trout. But I'll try. I did manage to cane pole in a chub. Alex, hold on. Have patience, fish. I'll get you. Yes. Oh, I hate the look and feel of those guys. Aeration coming from under that log. I only caught the chub. I'm not using my one worm left here. But I would love to stick a video camera in there for a day. There has to be a trout. It's like a dream in a creek here. In case you can't see it there. To me, this is a huge example of how the creek changes in the sediment side. So, I don't know if you can even see that little log submerged here, completely submerged. All of that to the left used to be about 2 to 3 feet deep. There's a channel here. About 6 years ago, I caught a big smallie with my minnow. I remember it distinctly, where he shot over when it hit the water and grabbed it. All of this has therefore filled in. Some last year, the amount of sediment that gets moved down here is immense. And this is just a creek. The amount of sediment, I should say, in a flood, the spring flood. Paid off. You can see the circle. He came out from under that log on my second cast. I didn't hook him well enough. I guess I didn't hook him at all. He threw it when he jumped. Maybe I'll get lucky. I was too far back. Alright, come on, fish. No monster, but he was a nice one. You would think might live underneath that log there. Oh well. Probably a pound. see if I can catch an action shot here. I should get a fish here. I think I might have hit the ground there. I don't think that was a fish. Now was in the way of casting under here because there's that nice submerged log underneath the beach, and this has been a good spot, but I'm way too close now, and if I put a worm in I think I'd just catch chubs. The first hole I ever learned that tube baits actually do catch fish for me. It's filled in a lot on this side. It wasn't this narrow, and there was a giant tree crossing it that I went out into the middle on that tree, way above the water, well, not way, 5 feet, perpetually cast up, and the tube bait was just floating down until one time it almost scared me out of my pants. A fish hit it so hard I thought it was a carp, because I didn't know that's how smallmouth do it. And then at least I finally knew that it wasn't just pros somehow. I've caught the big carp in here. There's a family that lived here. I've caught a trout up at the front end. Let's see if I can get smallies today.